G'day everybody, welcome back to another power rankings video on the channel. As always, after every 5 rounds, we like to have a chat about each team and rank them accordingly with my own personal power rankings. The top 9 set in place, only 9 teams can make finals football, and as for the rest of the teams in the competition, it is pretty set out in terms of power rankings here. Yeah, geez, there's been a massive gulf between the best and worst teams in 2025, but I tell you what, the final series could be an absolute cracker. But let's get into it, shall we? Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you do go on to enjoy. Let's begin. So in 18th here, no surprises, they've basically been 18th in my power rankings all year. The West Coast Eagles, just one win for the season, and it was just announced that Harley Reid is out for the remainder of the year, who has been building the last few weeks. And to be fair, probably the mid third of the season, West Coast were improving. They looked a bit more connected with how they were moving the pill, and the turnover game was on the up with their numbers. But a real disheartening performance they had the other week ago with their loss against Richmond. One of the worst quarters of the season. Didn't chase, didn't show any effort whatsoever. And 𝐓𝐴𝐻𝐿 did state in his press conference that the side has just had a lot of probably confidence lapses this season, and it has been evident with how they have played. So I don't think I'll be turning many heads here having West Coast in 18th with them just having one win for the season, so the Eagles in last. In 17th here, I'm going with the North Melbourne Football Club. Sort of similar to West Coast, they had a middle patch of the season where they were playing very competitive football and really bringing up to teams, and we have sort of seen that in a few of their losses as of late, like against Sydney, only down by 2 goals. They were up to it against the D's, but really crashed and burned. So that sort of has been the common theme with North this year, their inability to run out games. But they've had some absolute shockers, and especially within the last 5 weeks going down to Hawthorn, especially the recent one, probably the worst performance of the season against the Cats. It just still remains an issue for this team. Defensively, they are not good enough, and it's been showed on footy shows as well, just how easily Tides have been able to carve them up through transition. They just don't run hard enough defensively. It's a critical importance they've got to improve that area heading into next year, the defensive aspect of their game, because their midfield throughout stages of the year has been very competitive. So real disappointing last 2 rounds for North Melbourne, just the same old really, and I've got them in 17th. 16th here, going with the Richmond Tigers, and after a bit of a period where they were getting beaten convincingly and not really showing much connection inside 50, the last 3 weeks has been excellent. A scrappy win against Essendon and one of the best wins of the season over in the West. How good was that? Just pure aggression and ruthlessness with how they moved the pill, and they were great off the turnover. And this has been Richmond throughout stages early in the season too. When they really get up their pressure, they can be a tough nut to crack. Recent game being a loss against the Tigers, but were pretty competitive in that one, but not really much same in dropping a game to the top of the table, going down by 30 odd points. So they've been building nicely, the Tigers, the last few rounds after a bit of a low point throughout the season, picking up 2 out of the last 3, and I've got them in 16th. And to round up the bottom 4, I will be going with Essendon here, so a pretty straightforward bottom 4 here, and with St Kilda's win, that does bump Essendon down to 15th on the actual ladder as well. Just a side that's been killed with injury this season. In the last 2 games, no doubt they've struggled quite a bit, fielding almost really half of the AFL side, with their losses coming to GWS by 50 odd points and almost a 100-point loss against the Dogs. This side just needs the end of the season to come right away. Wonder what favours it could potentially do for the Dons heading into next year though. Good time to be blooding some young players now, getting some experience in them, and they're probably in the best spot they've been in quite some time as well. They've got 2 first-round picks, potentially 2 in the top 6. With also having Melbourne's future first pick, it's a chance to really try and nail this draft, given the last few drafts have been fairly ordinary. Looking at the bigger picture, it's sort of tricky to judge the Dons at the minute, given their injury list and their circumstances, but power rankings itself, I will have them here at 15th. In 14th place here, I'm going with the Demons. Since the bye, it's just gone bad or worse for this team. I think it's a 1-7 record since the bye. I'm fairly sure they just can't really find ways to win. So much inconsistencies in their game, and just a team that looks a bit cooked in many areas of the ground. Stephen May currently suspended. Lever's been dropped throughout one game this season as well. In games where they've looked like they've been good enough to win with more scoring shots, the same old problems happen with a lack of connection inside 50. But to be fair, I think the last few weeks they're getting a bit more of their forwards, like Chandler's starting to kick a few. Fritsch has been good the last 2 odd games, 3 odd games. Milksham the last 6 odd weeks has found a rich vein of form as well. But they sort of overall remind me of the D's as a team that maybe their game style has sort of gone past the power curve of what football is today, that free-flowing, high-attacking football, not so much the contested brand. But to be fair, they have really added pace across their ball movement this season. But yeah, just so much inconsistencies. And also off the back of one of the most embarrassing losses of a very long time, the biggest comeback in AFL history, it's another side that just really wants the end of the season to come. Could Goodwin get sacked? It potentially could be on the cards. But for me, the Demons just Just a total mess they've been this season. I've got them in 14th. 13th place, I'm going with 𝐓𝐶 𝐿𝐷𝐸 here. So it was a playing game between them and the Demons for this 13th spot, and it was looking like it was Melbourne because they did so much right. But yeah, wow, the Saints, what a comeback that was. And all the talks about 𝐻𝐼𝐴𝐻𝐼𝐿𝐷𝐸. Tell you what, it just glides across the field effortlessly. He is just such a good talent. But for the Saints itself, well, finally, they've been due a win. They've played some good, honest footy here and there, but overall, it's just where they are, really. They haven't lacked top-tier execution in games. They've had some unforced errors with some young players too, and they've gotten just exposed defensively at times with against some good opposition that can really put on points. So the Saints, I've got them here in 13th. In 12th position here, I'm going with Carlton. Just one win out of the last 5 games and are also 12th on the AFL ladder. Finally got their win over the Demons, and it was just off their usual strength. Great pressure around the ball, and they really restricted Melbourne's ball movement. Now it was refreshing to see. 𝐼𝐶 had an excellent game. 𝐼𝐶 as well was big that night. And the recent game, a loss coming against the Hawks, where they just didn't have the quality going inside 50. One of their biggest concerns this year, the Blues, their execution inside 50, some terrible kicks out of, some loopy balls, or just terribly inaccurate kicks that go straight to an opposition player in the back 50. Like many teams, it's just been all over the shop for the Blues this season. Ultimately, not the greatest form from their star players. Mackay's been out of the team, 𝐻𝐼𝐴𝐻𝐿𝐷𝐸, 𝐼𝐶 has been up and down, Curnow's been better the last few weeks, but they're a team so much reliant on their stars, and when they don't get firing, their sort of bottom core of players in that best 22 really do get exposed. Similar to Melbourne, is their game style sort of past it now with just such a heavy contested focus, because on the outside, they're just not good enough of a ball-moving team. But let's see how they finish off the year, because their inside game can prove deadly in the past, and yeah, for me, I'm going to have the Blues here in 12th. 11th place here, going with Port Adelaide. Last few weeks have been somewhat disappointing, and off the back of one of their worst showdown performances in history, almost a 100-point belting to the hands of Adelaide, just where both teams are at in the minute. One team totally checked out, especially Ken Hinkley as well. That gummy teeth stunning it did against Brisbane. I couldn't believe he did that. Could you imagine if that was like Michael Voss or something? Oh my goodness, the media would be reacting a lot different. The contested games really dropped off Port Adelaide last 2 weeks, so battered by Hawthorn's midfield, and the exact same thing happened against the Crows, and the absence of Horne-Francis definitely hurting them, with that player is able to burst out of congestion. I feel like a lot of players have gone backwards this year. Jace Burgoyne, I think, had a disappointing year. Jackson Meaden, etc. is almost looking like they're list worthy, and it is hard to keep their consistency afloat with their circumstances, especially their injuries with Horne-Francis, Todd Marshall, 𝐵𝐵 out for the season. Just like many other bottom 10 teams, the year just needs to come quick for Port Adelaide. Got them here at 11th. And in 10th place here, the final side that is mathematically impossible to make the finals, and that is the Sydney Swans. So pretty predictable bottom 10, really. It's all been really disappointing seasons for these clubs, and yeah, Sydney, just too much inconsistency in their strengths, and a disappointing loss against the Giants. They did a lot right in the first half, but that's just the common theme with this team. They've had a lot of losses this year where they've conceded a run-on of goals against Essendon, the shock loss, of course, against the Crows, and 12 goals in a row against the Giants. I still think deep down this playing group does have that soft underbelly and a bit of that mental weakness. They've tried to turn the screws a bit more of a focus into the contested game and defence and etc. But defensively, they've been a bit all over the shop. They've had personnel issues, to be fair, but sides have been able to cut them up end to end a little bit too easily this year. And their contested game, granted, has been a little bit better. But it's going to be a big year next year for Sydney on if they can bring back their strong ball movement game, because offensively they were fantastic in 2024. But yeah, a bit all over the shop. A bit of a mess this year for the Swannies. But hey, they could finish off the year well, maybe debut a few plays. But for me, Sydney, like their ladder position, got them here in 10th. In 9th place here, going with the Western Bulldogs. I think we all know where they're at, the Doggies. They're too bad for the good teams, and they're too good for the bad teams. So they're just perfectly entrenched in 9th position, but still a very good chance for finals with their run home. And they've got the Giants this week with a few outs, and they've got a great record over GWS. But look, they've shown some threatening signs against some good opposition with what they can do with ball in hand and how they can rebound and go inside 50. There's just always dangerous outlets. Norton's been excellent the last few weeks, but against weaker sides, they just press around the footy so well. But against those good teams, when it sort of exits that congestion bubble, they can really get and go. And the Dogs just get totally exposed out the back. Happened against the Crows, happened against Brisbane. Few weeks left in the home and away season. Can they improve a wee bit defensively? Because I think from a neutral point of view, and probably some Dog supporters would agree with this, if they were to make finals, yeah, probably just almost stamp their papers and say first round exit against whoever you're playing. So they just need to be better a bit behind the ball because offensively they can be one of the most threatening teams in the competition. But the Doggies currently in ninth, but definitely a good chance of finals, and they are in ninth in my power rankings. And now we'll move on to the top 8. So this is where things mix up a bit in comparison to the actual AFL ladder. And 8th here, I'm going with Hawthorn, solely because they, overall this season, they haven't been the absolute best against the top 8 teams, but since that Dogs win, I feel like they are looking like a bit more of a different team, and they have been able to bring in some key plays as well, and some plays that didn't play well early in the season, like 𝐓𝐴𝐶, for example, have been playing a lot better. I think Battle and Barras has been excellent the last few weeks as well, and they're getting so much output from that forward line. Chol's out in the minute, but Mitch Lewis came back on the side, showing great aerial ability, but Dylan Moore's been great as of late. Ginnivan and Watson can always have their bop up and have their cameos. Link up play and their ball movement, stats wise, some of the best in the competition as well. The midfield is a bit of a question mark, given the Hawks do rely quite a bit in the minute from scoring from the back half. Probably need a bit more dominance from scoring from that midfield prowess. Big test is Friday night against the Crows, who do look like a contrast of difference last time they did play out over in Tassie. So I've got Hawthorn here in 8th. 7th place here, going with the Gold Coast Suns. I feel like I'm sort of underrating them here, but what a win it was against the Brisbane Lions, a side that always just bullies them, but they bully them themselves. Pure dominance from that midfield. Rowell and Anderson, I think almost shoo-ins for the All-Australian. Rowell's second half of the season's been almost underrated. His output has been through the roof. Tackling machine, so clean at ground level. Some concerns with some key players out like Tuke Miller and Dan Rioli, but just that win over Brisbane showed that they've got a bit of depth. Like Joel Jeffrey, I think's had a really under the radar sort of season, been great overhead back in that defensive 50. And Alex Davies came in for his first game this season and had a day out. Overall, the Suns just look like a bit of a different team, a bit more mature, tougher on the inside, and yeah, Damien Hardwick style. They've a really good side on being able to lock it in the forward 50. The bigger picture tells me, do they have that efficiency going inside 50 to really battle out and be a true contender? Because that's let them down in a few performances this season, but that's going to give them a bountiful amount of confidence, beating their foes of the Lions by a real convincing margin, pure dominance from the midfield. I've got them 7th here because there's just a few teams I rate a little bit higher above them. And that team in 6th place to start things off is the Fremantle Dockers, and I want to put them a little bit higher than their 7th place position here because alongside the Cats and the Giants, they're the only teams in the competition that do have a positive record against the top 8, and they've been excellent this back half of the season. Just sort of similar to Gold Coast, that look like a bit more a team that's just grown up quite a bit, and they've been great in these clutch games. They're just playing with confidence now in the final quarter. Is it a club-changing one with that win they had over the Pies, where they just really took the game on, hitting up the corridor almost every time in that final term, and it really paid off against the best team, or one of the best teams in the competition of Collingwood. Execution's looking better the last few weeks as well. Yeah, a team currently in the top 8 that is playing with a bit of confidence, and yeah, just a real high score. I think it was the highest scoring game against West Coast in quite a while. So yeah, they look like a bit of a different gravy side. These last, I'd say 10 weeks or so, Fremantle, a bit of a attacking, bit of a flair sort of side they are possessing, the Dockers. So got them here in 6th. 5th place, I am going with the Cats here. They are sitting in 4th place, and look, I think they're a lock for the top 4 if they run home, but I got them 5th here because there's just a few sides I do rate a little bit higher. But yeah, the Cats, I think we all know they'll definitely be around the mark come finals time, and with their run home, as I did say, should be a great chance for the top 4 and have the double chance. But yeah, the Cats, their last 2 losses did come against Brisbane and also the Giants, and their wins have come against Richmond, the Saints, and also North Melbourne. So let's remember though, the Cats do have a very good record against the top 8, but I think a lot of that came early in the year, like they beat Fremantle and they beat Adelaide away early in the season. Some good opposition have gone to school them a little bit. Brisbane and also the Giants really carved them up off the turnover and intercepted really well, and they just couldn't handle it defensively, the Cats. So definitely some questions on how they could fare in finals, but look, there were questions on them last year, and I had them going out straight sets, and they go and beat Port Adelaide by 70 odd points. So we just know the Cats are definitely going to be a contender heading into September. Their best footy when they really get pace on the ball, one of the most efficient teams going inside 50 in the competition as well. Yeah, I think we all know they'll be around the mark. The Catters, I've got them here in 5th. Top 4 now, I'm going with the Giants here in 4. They're currently 6th at the minute, but their last 6 or 7 weeks has been outstanding. They've really fixed up on some of their issues. Still conceding a little bit too many inside 50s, but the big difference for me is their midfield game. Really led by Finn Callahan, clearly the number 1 by quite a margin, the best handball receive player in the competition. Just sprints up to the back line, gets the handball receive, and kickstarts their attack. He's buzzing around everywhere, loving his game at the moment. Finn Callahan. Tom Green has improved, one of the best clearance players in the competition stats-wise. But yeah, they've just been a lot better of a clearance team, and that was one of their biggest issues earlier in the season and even throughout middle parts of this year. Their ball movement from the back half has also tremendously improved. They're getting plenty of pace on it, and they're showing some great efficiency too, and Ashton Whitfield's been in fine form with their drive. They haven't chose to tag Toby Bedford for the last 6 weeks or so as well, and that's probably made them a bit of a better midfield side as well, and really been a bit more of a free-flowing team. Looking like a real dangerous outfit at the minute, the Giants, in some fine form, and yeah, going to rate them a little bit higher than the ladder position here, because they've got a really good record against the top 8 too. Yeah, Giants in 4th for me. 3rd place here, I will keep Brisbane in the top 3, but I've dropped them out at the top 2 because of their percentage really, and the Crows are just going absolutely brilliant at the minute, but don't want to write off the Lions, especially this season when they have had a poor performance. They seem to bounce back really well. Like, not really many gave them a chance against Hawthorn to go out and belt them, so I think they're a really good chance to beat the Pies this week. I don't know if I have the guts to tip them, but yeah, the Lions, they're just one of the most mature teams in the competition. What is letting them down, though, is their goal kicking and their inability to capitalise off dominance with their field position. And maybe that could pip them come September. But overall, one of the best teams in the competition on forcing turnover and executing well off it. One of the, I think, top 4 in the competition the last 2 weeks with scores off turnover. Going to be a cracker of a game this Saturday night against the Pies. I think it should be a beauty. But yeah, Brisbane at 3 for me. There is definitely a chance they could maybe slip out. Probably can't see it, though. They should be good enough to lock in a top 4 spot here, and I got them in 3rd. 2nd place here, going with the Adelaide Crows. Could you put them at 1? Not for me. I've still got the Pies, but Adelaide, wow. Last 5-6 odd weeks, they have just turned into a serious contender now. I thought they could be like a side that could win a final, but just how they've been able to defensively and offensively just build as the season's gotten on has been marvellous. Their back 6 has been tight as a rock, and let's remember they've been doing this without Nick Murray, probably one of their better players on paper heading into this year. They've been doing it predominantly without him, but 𝐓𝐴 𝐻𝐿's really improved this year. We're all, I think, in the top 3 for intercept possessions this season. Michael Lunny always plays his part. Miller has been excellent in the last few rounds, and then you've got Curtin, a beast in the air that's been playing a little bit of midfield time, especially with their recent performance against Port Adelaide in that showdown. And up forward, they have their weapons. Ben Keays has had a solid year. He's kicked over 30 goals. The 3 key forwards always have their lick of the ice cream. The best turnover team in the competition for attack and also defence. They're dangerous. They're great to watch, Adelaide. Going to have the Hawks this Friday night, and I think they also have North Melbourne and West Coast to finish off the year. That could be a sneaky chance to finish on top of the table. But yeah, they are just looking like one of the best teams in the competition, no doubt. Adelaide got them here in 2nd. And we'll play it pretty safe here with going with the Pies at 1. They have been head and shoulders the best team in the competition for a majority of the season, and I still want to keep them at 1 here. But yeah, the last few weeks, they were just a blip on the radar with their 2 losses they had against the Suns and also Fremantle. That's now 1 out of the last 4 games that they have won, with a game being decided by under a kick. So have they lost a bit of that spark? We'll see what happens come September, because they did win the flag 2 years ago with, I think, losing 3 of their last 5. No doubt, though, we'll want to bank a few wins just to lock in that top spot and head into finals with a bit of form. Executions let them down the last 3 weeks or so. Like the first half, they just struggled to really move the football against the Suns, and it did also let them down early on in that game against Fremantle. So some things to work on for the Pies, but they are still sitting on top of the table, and yeah, as I said before, been pretty much the best team all season long. So still got them a 1 here, the Pies. So everybody, there are my power rankings for the end of round 20. Let me know down below in the comments what are your power rankings, because yeah, there's many different variations to this top 8. It's really up to you. I don't think it necessarily has to reflect the top 8, because you've got sides like Fremantle and Gold Coast and even the Giants that probably are looking a bit better than what the ladder position does reflect. So let me know. Always love to hear your people's opinions. Thanks for tuning in, lads, and until next time, I'll talk to you later. See you later, fellas.